Okay. So again, the purpose behind putting functions in our programs is to modularize it, easier to debug because I can write it a part at a time. Reusability, you know, if I wrote a function that can calculate the tensile strength of steel on a McCluggage bridge or something, and then a year from now somebody comes along and says, hey, I need to calculate the tensile strength of the steel on the Bob Michael bridge, we can pull out that one from and reuse that. You know, my boss isn't going to want to pay somebody to write that code that we already own in another program. So we can just pop that module out, pop it in the program, and it should still run. Okay. So better testing. And of course, if we can reuse stuff, we got faster development out of our functions. Okay, so we're going to break them down. Naming your functions. Again, it should be similar to our variable names. Okay, but I'm going to say I like them when they have like a noun, like get cost or print output or get inputs, at least something like that. Again, there's certain rules you can't use. Start with values and stuff, or numbers and stuff like that. The to declare or to create your functions, we start with DEF, okay, for define, and then space and whatever the name of it is. And then we have two parentheses at the end, and then a colon. Okay. And sometimes inside those parentheses, we have arguments. Okay. When you send them, or parameters, let's put it that way. And then we can send arguments to fill those parameters. And you're going to see we're going to do that today. So in other words, if I wanted to call, maybe I have an input thing. It says input 2 numbers. So I get my 2 numbers. And then I want to call a function that adds them together. Well, it has to send those 2 functions or those 2 numbers over to the function that's going to add them together. So it's kind of like a pitcher and a catcher. If I'm sending 2 arguments, there has to be 2 parameters to accept those 2 arguments that I send. Okay. And of course, I have to have them in the right order if there's an order problem. You know, if one number, they need to be in the right order. You can't, it's like, you know, throwing the ball to the wrong player or something. You're not going to get the best results that way. And the data types have to be right. If I'm passing a string, somebody's name and their age, I can't put their age. Well, I could probably put their age into the name, but putting their name into an integer would be a big problem. Your program would crash that way. So they have to be in the right order also. I'm just looking here. Indentation, of course, it has to be indented correctly. If something's inside a function, it at least has to be 1 tab in. Okay, so you do your definition, DEF, whatever its name is, and then your parentheses, colon. If you hit enter, at least if you're using Thorny or that, it'll take you 1 tab in. So everything inside that function has to be inside of it. Okay, so you got to be careful with your indentation. And again, sometimes it can drive you nuts. So we're basically doing that. There's some examples in your book on Flow charting, okay? If you've never done that, you should take a look at it. Okay. The next thing is variables and scope. Scope is nothing more than where can I use these variables at? Okay. If I declare a variable in a function within its limits, okay, that's the only place I can see it. Okay. You can't go to another function and say, hey, I want that variable from the other function. Doesn't work that way. Excuse me. You have to pass that variable to that other function, or you have to make its scope bigger. In other words, you take that variable and put it outside of any of the functions. And then it becomes global over the whole program. Now, the problem with it is I used to ask students, it's because they say, well, why don't I just make them all global? Then I don't have to pass them. I don't have any problems, et cetera, et cetera. And I would ask you this, when you went somewhere, maybe you went to work today or that, did you leave your car running in the parking lot all day? I don't know. Well, you're going to use it later. Why didn't you just leave it running? Kind of like what we're doing. If I make the variable global, then it's using resources from the time I start the program till the time I end the program. Okay. Even if it's not being used. Okay. Even if it's not even being used. Whereas if I put it in a particular function, it only works or taking up memory while it's in that function. It isn't used until we use that. So there's a section on that. I'm going to show you how to pass arguments from one to another. We're going to pass multiple arguments. So that's a lot in one night, really. And we're going to take a look at global constants. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that would take us up to random numbers. And I think for this week, I'm going to stop about there. Did I have anything in the, let me look at this real quick, make sure I don't have future value. Okay, none of the assignments for this week have you using random numbers. So I think that's where I would say if you're reading this, I would stop on, about page 244. And you should have enough info in the pages before that to do these programs. Anyway. I just got in, so I'm just dying of thirst. I walked. It's the first day I've been able to walk where it wasn't too cold for the dogs to go out. Roads are kind of slushy, but I try to keep the dogs out of the salt, and it's crazy. All right, so I'm going to screen share with you guys. If I can find what I want. Any questions over what you're supposed to read or? No. Silence. The silence in this class. Trying to divide up my screen here. All right. So we're going to write a program. So it's a new program. So I'm going to click new. And let's go with $project. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. And let's just call this the Acme Stadium seating, or how about POS? You know what that means? Point of sale program. And this sum, just make it stadium POS .pi. And today's date is the 18th. Geez. 2021. Author. I should make up like weird names for the author all the time, just instead of my own. Excuse me. And oops. Dollars. There we go. Purpose. A program to sell 3 levels of seats. Stadium seats. Need something else in there, don't I? How about price? 3 price level stadium seats. And calculate the total costs. I think that'll work. All right. So now I'm going to declare some global variables. Whether or not they need to be global at this point, I'm going to do this just to show you that I can, okay, instead of putting them in their individual. And it would be just as easy and probably better to declare them inside each one of the functions that I'm going to create. Okay. Now, as you go through programming, you're going to hear 2 different names, or a couple different names for what your book calls functions. Okay. Most of the time, the definition of a function is a procedure that returns a value. Okay. Or a method that returns a value. So sometimes I'll talk about a method is what the book calls a function, a void function. Okay. In other words, it doesn't return anything. Some people will say that a function returns one thing. Okay. Or a procedure. So if you hear those terms, but basically we're talking about the same thing. Okay. Some return values, some don't. If you want to differentiate between the two, you could say a void function or a method doesn't return a function or a value, where normal functions do. And then we're talking about scope. Okay. So I'm going to notice it's all in uppercase, and we'll just say class A seats. Now, class A seats should be equal to maybe, I don't know, if you went to Civic Center, let's call them $200 a seat, right? Class B seats we'll say are $100 class. I hate the Civic Center seating system. It has European seating. If you've never been there, that means there's no aisle down the center. So you have like 50 seats in a row. And so if you buy a seat in the middle, okay, and you have to go to the restroom or something, you have to climb over 25 people in either direction you go to get out of there. And I just think that's crazy. So I always buy stuff I buy box seats instead, which are pretty cool because you only put 7 people in the whole box. And again, you pay for it, but I'd prefer to be up there. All right, so there's our global constants. Okay, so now I can use them anywhere in my program. All right, I can do it anywhere I want in the program. I can go ahead and show them. All right, so the first module or whatever you want to call it that I'm going to create is my main. Okay, so I'm going to just put a thing in here that says main module, and then we'll go ahead here and say define main, and we do that. So now I have that. Okay. Later on, oops, to call that, to get my program started, I have to come down here and just type main with 2 braces like that. No colon on the end down there. Okay. So I believe this will even run right now. What was I calling this thing again? Something POS, seating POS, stadium POS, stadium POS. I'm saving it to my desktop. I'll just hit save. Oop, indentation are expected an indented block. Oh, it's saying I don't have anything in there. So it won't let me do it. So let's go ahead and put something in there. Let's see what I want to put in here. How about keep going is equal to the character Y. And then we'll do our fancy little while keep going dot upper is equal to Y. Okay. So now everything's inside of that. So now if I go down a couple and do my keep going is equal to input, press Y to continue. All right. So now let's see if that'll run. And it's got Y to continue down at the bottom down there. If I type a small letter Y, uppercase Y, I type an N, boom, it stops. So what's happening here is this is all skipped over. Okay. First line that gets executed is this one. And then it calls this function right here. Okay. And this runs. So this starts it down here, comes up here and does that. All right. So now we can build some more stuff. I'm going to make another function. So this program is supposed to get 3 classes of seats and then calculate out what they're going to cost and then print it out at the end. Okay, going to print it out at the end. So I'm going to create my first, and there's different ways to break this up. I'm going to do it by A, B, and C, okay? So I'm just going to say I want to define a class or a function called get A seats. All right. And I'll initialize some variables as count A seats as equal to 0 because I want that to be an integer. And then I'll do income A seats. And that one I want as a double or a float. So that works. Now, I'm going to introduce a way we don't do this yet or completely, the try accept, but I think you need to have a way to validate your input, okay, so that we can make these more user friendly, or again the not acceptable way to do it is call it idiot proof, but we want to make them user friendly. So I'm going to show you this, and you can use it over and over and over again in your programs to make them more user friendly. So we're going to say while true, nothing more than that. Now inside of that, my output thing is too big here. We're going to say that we want to try something. Notice that's a reserved word. And I'm going to say that I want to do count A seats is going to be equal to an integer input that says enter count of class A seats. Something like that. And then I'm just going to type in the word break, which is a reserved word. Then I'm going to pop back out and put except. So if they try, what we're trying to do here, if they try to type something that isn't an integer in, this except message is going to pop up. And then it continues. Okay. Now I'm back outside of the while loop now. So once I get the value, I can say the income from A seats will be equal to the count of A seats times my global variable, right? Because I can use that anywhere. All right. Now, what I'm telling you in the real, or in my opinion, and if I wasn't just showing you this, I would take this and put it inside of here, in this get a seats up here at the top. Now, that would mean, though, that it's only available in here. I can't use it anywhere else. If it's up here, I can use it there. And really in this one, there's no reason not to move it down in there, except that I want to show you what a global constant looks like. Okay, so we get this. And then what we're going to do, once I have income seats, I'm going to return that. So I want to return income A seats. And where am I going to return it to? Well, when I call it up here, why did I call it in? I should name it two different things because it's going to confuse you. Let me do this. I'm going to change income here to price A seats. Okay. Price A seats, and then we'll say here price. And this one here, price, or whatever. Okay. Price A seats. And, or I could have put cost, would have probably been a better one, but that's all right. So in between, in my loop up here, I'm going to have where I have a variable, and that variable is going to be income, A seats. And where's that going to come from? Well, it's going to get filled by calling get A seats. Just like that. Okay. And then we're going to test it. So I'm going to just, right here, I'm going to put a print. Income A seats. Okay. Let's see if that'll, I'm going to save. And hopefully I don't have any errors. Uh-oh. String literal.
It's just a double quote on
Which one? Where am I? Boom, boom, boom.
the get a seats thing.
Oh, right here. We got this. I can have a double there. That's a double. That's a double. Let's try that. Okay, it says enter account of A seats. So if I type in 10, it prints out 2,000 down here, which is right? And you can see I got my Y going here. So if I press Y and I want to do it again, it comes up and it says enter the count of A seats. And I type in X. It says this is not a valid entry for A class seats. Enter the count of A class seats. I'll put 1. It'll say 200. And I say N. So now, no matter what they type in there, your program shouldn't crash. Should not crash. All right, so I don't want this anymore. I don't need it. Okay, so I got the A seats, so now I'm going to do income B seats. And I'll just do, I'll follow along, get B seats, parentheses like that. And I'm just going to build it one right after another. So down here, I've got define, define, get a, let's do this. Get the B seats. Little documentation, break it up a little bit. Get the A seats. All right, so we're down here. And now I'm going to define get B seats. Make sure you got your colon there. And then I'll have count B seats. Initialize that to an integer. And then price B seats is equal, and initialize that to a double. All right. One thing I didn't say here. So right here, when I say return, this comes back. This was the calling function here. So what happens is it sends it down here. And then when it says return, it returns this up to here. And it assigns this is the assignment character. Doesn't mean equal to. It assigns whatever's on the right here to whatever's on the left. So that fills this variable in. So now I'm doing the same thing for the B seats. I say get B seats, it calls down here, does whatever it says under get B seats, comes back up here, and it's going to fill the B's. Okay. So I got that. And once again, I get my while true and try. Again, indentation is important. Count B seats will be equal to an integer that we get in input. It says enter count of class B seats, colon space, parenthesis, parenthesis. And then we have a break. Okay. And that's if they do it right, if whatever they type in can go into count B seats, which is an integer, then we don't need to do anything else. So it breaks out of here. If it doesn't, a letter, we want to say except, we'll have what's called an exception. Okay. And the exception again will be to print that is not a valid entry for B class seats. You might want to give them that little exclamation point. Like, are you an idiot? And then it continues in the loop. Okay, it doesn't break out. Now I'm out. I need to be outside of the loop, right? So, because I'm finished with the loop. So now I need price price B seats are equal to the count B seats times our global constant. Again, constants is just a reserved place in memory to store data that cannot change during program execution. Cannot change. And once I have my number here, I can just return price B seats. Okay. And then we test or save it and test. And down at my bottom here, you can't really see. Let me stop it and run it again. Okay, enter count of Class A seats. We'll say 10 of those and 10 of the Bs. And it took it and didn't crash. I didn't print them out that time. Okay, but it didn't crash. That's the big thing. If I run it again, and it says enter the count of A seats, I type in X. It says that's not right. So then I'll type in 10. And let's test it here. I type in X. It says nope, you can't do that, buddy. How about an exclamation point? Nope, doesn't like that. How about 2.2 seats? Nope, can't do that. How about 4 seats? I can do that. Okay. So again, that's a good little easy way. I didn't give you too much there on using these try excepts because there's all kinds of exceptions. In other words, if we want to be specific, blah, 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 this is, it's not an integer, but we can give them that same information in just this easy try except. Okay. So that one seems to work. So now we're ready to go down one, and we'll go ahead and do our get the C seats. So again, it's DEF. You got to have that. Get C seats, 2 parents, colon. We come down. And again, Thorny is smart enough to know after I do that, everything in there has to be inside of it. So it moves my cursor to the first tab. And that's perfect. That's where I want to be. And I can do my count C seats as an integer and my price C seats as a floating point. And I got my while true loop. Try. And then count C seats will be equal to an integer of the type, whatever they type in. Enter. Count of Class C seats, colon, da, da, da. I just like this is not mandatory, this colon space here. I just like the way it looks as a prompt. Okay. If you'd rather have a more than sign there, you can surely do that. That does not bother me in the least. Or you have some other, again, notice when I typed in break, instead of putting me here, it kicked me out there. That's the benefit of using an IDE, an integrated development environment, because it knows my indentation needs when I'm dealing with Python. Okay, so then I have some type of exception. And let's see, it indented right for me. Again, indented it correctly. And that is not a valid entry for C class, oops, class seats. Like that, and then we continue, means stay in the loop. And we got that. Again, most of your problems in your programs when you're doing these will be typos. They'll drive you nuts, and just don't think you're the only ones that does it, because I get typos all the time. I'm like the typo king. Times the, again, global variable. and then I return that to the main. Now, can you call a function from another function? Yeah, you can. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to show you here in a minute how we could have changed this program a little bit. So once I have my C's ready, let's go up here and income C seats is equal to get C seats. And we're going to test at this point. Let's just say print income A seats, income B seats, and income C seats. And see what happens. Save, run it. Oh, come on. So I'll just do 10 with everyone. Oops. Caught me on that one. And so you can see there my seats cost 200, 150. So 10 would be 2,000, 1,000, and 500. So that looks good. I need to check my, oops, I pressed no instead of run. I haven't checked my my C to see if it'll, but it does. It tries, I mean, it won't take anything. So I put a 1 in there and you can see the prices again. And we hit N for no. So that looks pretty good. And we've broken our program down into the different categories of seats. And there might be other stuff, this is again an easy or a simple example. Maybe there's other things that Class A seats don't have, that Class B seats don't have, that Class C seats don't have. We don't know. All we're calculating is how many of them and what is the cost, right? But there could be a logical reason for breaking it down this way. Mine is only that I want to give you examples of different different functions, right? All right, so right now we were printing them up here. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't want to print from there. It's not pretty. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to create a new function. And I'm going to make this one my display. I call it show income. There's display the income. Let's see, total income and subtotals. How's that? If I could spell, I'd be good. And I'm going to call it define show income. Now, the problem is that all the information is up here. Okay. So I need to get it down here. Okay. I need to get it down here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, how about this? A income, B income, C income. So those are the parameters So I need to send 3 things down there when I call this function, because I have to fill those in, okay, or the program's going to crash. And in this case, I want to send them in the right order also, right? So when I call this, I want to make sure that it in fact is sent down in the right order. All right, so I need a variable called total or something. And total is going to be, I'll initialize it first, even though I could just add it together. And then I'm going to total it. So total will be equal to A income plus B income plus C income. And again, notice that these, even though I'm adding these down or using these down here to catch what I'm sending down, they don't they're not named the same. They don't have to be named the same. Here their name is income A, seats. Down here it's just going to be A income. Okay, but that's still going to fill that up. Okay, so now I took those and I totaled them. So now I just have to maybe print out the results, right? So I'm going to say print income from class A seats is going to be, how do I want to do this? Let's do this. So I do that, seats, and then put a $sign in. Or do I want to do the, well, I'll do it this way, and then we can always use our other one too. Okay, and then comma. And then this is, that just says don't put that I'm continuing this line on the next line. Okay, and then we'll just say format A income as 0.2F. And I don't know, they also have in your book, they show as the separation, if you want, will be equal to, they have to be right like that too. Dash, dash, there is none, and then close that. I don't know if I like that or I like the other one better, I think. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that, I think. And then just pop it in there 3 times. So I copy that, come down here, Control V it, hit enter, Control V it again, hit enter, backspace, Control V it again. All right, so this will be B seats. And then this will be B income here. This one will be C income. Whoops. And this, where was that at? B seats, A seats. It should be a B, capital B, shift B here. B income. There should be a capital C here. This will be C income. And then the last one here should read total income. And I just called it total here. Okay. I think that looks all right. Just looking real quick here. Oops, I'm missing that one, that one, that one, that one. Okay, that's okay. So now I need to call this. We're going to call this function. So if I go way back up here to the top, the name of that function was show income, right? So if I go show income, and I need to send down 3 things because I have 3 parameters for the function. So that should call it. So I'm going to save, and let's see what happens now. So if I do 10 of those, and 10 of the B's, and 10 of the C's, there is my output.
Doug, do you ever run across an issue where the shell just does not open when you hit run?
It could.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna restart my ID, but right now I'm just
Did the
noticing
shell
like I'm hitting run and nothing is happening. So
Oh. Why would that be?
yeah, not sure. I was testing out my craps simulator and that ran. So give me a second.
All right. We'll wait. Let's see why would that to not run at all is kind of weird. Let's see something.
Okay, so now the shell is open. It's just saying, percentage run stadium pos.py. And so I'm assuming it's a typo, but Thawny is usually tells you where the typo
Right.
is, at least.
Okay,
not
so
showing.
what we're going to do is I'm going to stop sharing mine, and then I will allow multiple
And
shares.
give everybody an opportunity to
Take a look at yours.
Test their debugging skills. Yeah,
That's right. So go ahead and ramp yours up, and let's see what we got.
it's working.
Yep,
All
I
right.
can see it.
Okay.
So
That's what's happening.
so it's running and not airing out. Okay. So
Just-
can you scroll down?
Yeah, I think I'm just missing a crucial.
Yep,
Is
you
it
are.
because
Want me
there's
to
no
tell you?
parentheses
What's up, Brad?
in the keep going to upper and the while thing all the way at the top in the main function?
Going.
Keep going to upper. And there's no parentheses with that.
Yep,
prompt
after
there?
the upper.
With the method. Okay.
Yep. So that should have those.
Okay.
So try it now.
Boom. There. All right.
Sweet.
Good stuff. Thanks, Brad.
Welcome.
See that? Tell you. You guys are. Anybody else got one that isn't running? Nobody wanted to fess up? Dave's the only one that would fess up that his wasn't running.
Interesting though that Thawny with that did not
Did not pick it up. You're right.
Yeah, it didn't go like line 15. What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's usually it picks them up pretty well. Or it just crashes, you know. So that's kind of weird. All right. So I'm going to go back and share mine again. Where's it at, Thawny? All right. So does anybody see anything here that's might be a little strange at all?
Each function kind of is like similar to each other.
Ah, they're pretty much the same thing, right?
Right. It's redundant, so you would actually, I mean, if you took some time, you could easily just pass like which class of seats you want
There
into
you
the
go.
function, and then it would be more specific.
Yeah. So here, so let's take a look at what we're talking about for those of you who, this code right here is repetitive in all of the, where we get the seats, right? It's repetitive. So as is like all of it in one sense or another. But just even this part here, okay? We could create something that's like, let me copy one of these. And of course, I know damn well I'm going to screw this up and it ain't going to work. I'll put it way down here. So I'm going to call it something like define, validate, int. Hear my dog groaning. He's sitting here at my feet groaning because he wants to eat. I think it's after 5. They're weird. These guys wake up every morning. I don't know if they have an inborn clock or what. 5 o'clock in the morning, they want to go out. Then at 5 o'clock at night, they know they get their second meal of the day. And so at 5 o'clock, they start being restless and, yeah. Okay, so if I do that, all right. So what if I did? Again, I got to think about this before I. Okay, so count A seats could be. So let me run this part out. When you say you're rubbing something out, that just means you're remarking it out. Okay, it's kind of the geek term. So I could say count A seats, and then is equal to, or is assigned, validate int, and I could send the letter A down, I think. Okay. So if I do that, and then I put here seat, and then here, doesn't matter what I call this amount, and then this, we'll just do this too. And then we come down here, and then Okay, so that's boom, 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 keeps them in there. Once it's done, it should just kick back up to my A seats. Let's see if that'll work. Ooh, what did I do there? To try, oh, it's not indented right. This needs to be back one. I think maybe that'll work. Ooh, that's not good. See, I told you I'd screw it up. I'm missing something up here. Let's see. Where's my A? Why would it not? So it goes down, sends the A down, returns that. So if I go down, sends the seat here, while true. Huh. Accept. That's weird. Initialize it. Anybody see what it is? Why I'm getting an infinite loop? Continue. Because it's working fine when it's up here. So why does this cause it to go into an infinite loop?
What is validate int?
That's the name of the right here.
Right, the function. So
I'm not seeing where I should get a infinite loop.
is it because you put
What
never mind.
what's causing it to be true again? That's what I was trying to think. It's like if it could figure out what's causing it to be true.
Well, this becomes false here if they don't put in like it does right here. See, this one works. While true, try this. Okay. And if it doesn't, it comes back up and the loop keeps going. If it gets at what it wants, it should break out of there. And that's what I'm saying here. It breaks out. Oh, you know what? Maybe I need to. No, because I'm saving. If it goes there, sends it on, doesn't return anything. It's really a void. So continue. So I don't need to, I shouldn't have to return anything here. I don't think. Maybe I just need return. That can't be it, though. I wouldn't think. It's kicking me to, this is not a valid entry right off the bat. That's weird. I got something that's screwed up.
I think it might have something to do with the seat input because I took it out of the count B seats or the count amount where it says input and we send the A down to it for the seats, and it stopped looping, but then it came up with a different issue.
Which one now?
I took the seat argument out of the validate int function completely, and it let me put in the number. but then it crashed for a different issue.
So you're passing the character A to seats, like as the ASCII value.
Yeah, here, let me do this. Maybe this will do something. Let's make this double quotes. I don't think that's the problem, but that would be, nope. If I don't send anything, let's see what happens with that. Oh, stop it. Let's go here. It's something simple that I'm just skipping over here. I know it is. So then this will be invalid here. So let's just take this, delete. And this would be invalid here. Let's take that out. If that's what's kicking it, I don't understand. Okay, so let's count the number. So if I put in 10, okay, type our unsupported opened S4. Price of seats equal times Class A seats. Oh, get income assets. Let's go here. Count A seats would be count. Why am I? What is that now? Trace back main income A seats equals that. And then we get C user 40 and get A seats. Price A seats is equal to count. The operand type S for data, non-type and int. Okay. So it's trying to multiply here. Seats. How can that be?
I put in my validate int to return amount, and it seems to work.
Okay, hang on. Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't we return amount? Hello. Okay, let's try that now. Okay, that works. And then let me run it. Okay, 10, 10, 10. That's right. Okay, so typos, right? You have to have amount here. But I'm still wondering why I can't send down the letter A. I'm going to try it again. You see why I'm doing that? I want to personalize the what it is. Okay, so if I say what is seat again, I guess, and I can just want to see something. If I can just print seat here, that'll test it anyway. Oops, enter account for. Oh, it printed it. All right. So now there shouldn't be any reason for me to not be able to call that and say enter the count of should be able to do that. I don't know why it would not let me do that. So let's see if it'll crash again. That is crazy. Why can't I pass a letter A? There's got to be a technical reason why I can't do that.
Is there some sort of scope issue with seat?
Well, that's why I'm passing it. Okay.
Right.
That's why I'm passing it here as a, where is it? Where's my A? I want to pass it down there. Okay, so let's try this.
Is Python
Hang on.
weird about double and single quotes as far as?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do this. I'm going to say seat is equal to A. And then I'll call this seat here. Or I'm going to call it seat A for this one to pass it down. So then I'll say this is seat A. And then down here, I can still leave that as seat. Nope, doesn't like that. Well, I don't know what why that is. Because it surely works fine when we do this. Just take that out. And again, it's got to be something stupid that I'm just not thinking of at this time. Okay, so enter the count. See, so now the problem though is I don't have which seats, it's not as user friendly as it could be. So if I run it now, it works fine. I can type in an S and it says, nope, that's not right. But if I type in 10, it does fine. 10, it does. And 10, it does. But see, they got that nice prompt where the one for A now doesn't have, where it's asking them for that. So there's something for you to figure out. Why is this, if you want to use this, okay, because now you could cut out all this extra code and it would look like this for every one of them. So it's as simple as that. So we take this out and then tab over, and all it is count B seats is equal to validate integer. And then the same thing down here. But it's not the best. What I don't like is it's not the best prompt, right? Just isn't. So again, this will be count C seats. Whoops. Is equal to validate int. And it should run fine. Let's run it and see if in fact it does. Okay, so there it says count of seats. Say 10, 10, 10, and boom, it works perfectly. It's just our prompt sucks at this point. So that gives you something to do on this one. This is one of the homework assignments. So see if you can find it. Why are we getting that problem? Why can I not pass? Let me try one more thing, okay? Let's do this. Get A seats, get B seats, validate. I'm going to just try this again. So if I do A here, and I do B here, and I do C here, and then if I, instead of doing what I was doing, I'm going to do right here, type print, oops, print seat. And this is going to be just seat. Let me run it. All right, count seats. Oops, that's not good, Doug.
I think I might have found a solution.
Okay, well, just hang on. I want to see if I got. Okay, so there's the A above it. And if I do a 10, so it's not looping. So it has something to do with putting that word seat in my prompt, because now I'm sending it down there, right?
Yeah, it's something about that while.
Yeah, it doesn't like that, does it? So I can
Could
do.
you
I'm
why
gonna
don't you try
play.
printing it inside the while and see if it's getting in?
So if you put the print statement inside the while, like
Ah,
try to.
But you can do this. Watch. All we need to do here now is do. So now, hush. So now if I do that, something like that. Now if I run it, there you go. It works fine. And my output looks, the prompt is okay, because it says Class A order, enter the count of seats, 10. Class B order, enter the count of seats. So it just, for some reason, didn't like when I put it in the input statement.
When you put it in there and the infinite loop started, was it displaying? It was displaying like enter count of A seats, right? But it
Yeah.
was just infinite.
Yep.
Yeah,
It was
I
just-
get the same thing. But yeah.
So
Is
if
it-
we pull that out and put it up here, it works fine. So that's what I would do. And it looks good.
It's like int input, right? So like it's an int input, and then that input has like a string in it. I don't know. Just
Yeah,
thinking of things.
I don't know. Because
I
you
would-
can,
So
these right here has a string. So why would it matter that you put another string inside of there?
Yeah, true.
The other thing, you know what we could do?
yeah, I threw
Make
the
this
print
as a
statement.
variable and just, my other idea would be to do this. Do this message is equal to enter, oops, enter count of seat, comma, seats. Okay, so if I do that, rem this out. Now, if I take this out of here and just put in message, let's see what happens. Okay. Why is it showing those commas? Probably because I'm using the wrong language. I don't know.
I think you just switched to Java.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? But why is it showing these commas in here? Count
The
of
commas in where?
Well, I had it where I Control Z. Hang on.
And also, yeah, I threw in the print statement in the try
Yeah.
above amount, and it works as well. So it's just
Okay.
something about taking the input.
But see, this works. It just, why am I picking up the single quotes everywhere?
If you do it the way you like with the pluses instead of the commas, it works too. It's
What if I do this? It's kind of interesting on the different things it does. See, why is that? Why is that?
Should you put it in some parentheses?
I don't know. I mean, I'm wondering why when it prints it down here, it's different than if I was to print it up here, I'll bet. Watch this. Let's see if this does anything different. And it could just be that it's an input statement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I just prompted the user above amount, above the input in the try. I
Yeah.
just put print class and then seat, and it works. So it just says class A.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the next line. It says enter the amount.
I mean, so again, I liked the one when we had the Control Z here.
The original one we had works with plus signs instead of commas. I don't
Does
know.
it?
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
replaced
why
it with
is
plus
that?
signs. I guess the input thing interacts with commas differently.
Yeah, it must. But I like that. I think that looks pretty sharp, where it says Class A order and then enter count of seats. And you put in 10, then it comes up Class B order, 10, and then Class C order, 10, and it works perfectly well. We get where's it at? Down here. Our output looks, the prompts look nice, the output looks nice, and I think that's a winner there. Okay. Oh my goodness. So there's one of the homework assignments done. Okay. You can play with it more if you want. Like I said, we chopped it up a little bit. I don't care if you left it the way it was, where we had this this function built into each one. But it is a lot of repetitive code. So if you pull it out and make it one time, and then you can use this over and over and over again, right? To validate when you do your other programs. If it says enter an integer, that's what you're going to do here. You could also change the word, right? All you need to do here is change this to what? Whatever data type you're looking for. And it should work for those. Any other questions? Any questions?
As our programs get larger, do you want us to upload zip files to the portfolio?
I don't think so. I think plain text PI files are fine.
Okay.
Okay. If when we get to the point where if your program's multiple files, then we'll zip them into one package. If you know what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
If we get to the point where we have a separate class that has to be imported for your program to run, then yes, we'll have to, we'll want to zip them into one folder. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing now and stop recording.